You've felt it before. The sense that something about your life is running on autopilot, that beneath your choices, beneath what you call free will, there's a system, a pattern, something executing instructions you never wrote. Most people dismiss this feeling. They call it anxiety, overthinking, a phase. But what if it's not a malfunction? What if it's recognition? There's an old idea buried in forgotten texts that speaks of a creator who isn't what we think. Not divine, not transcendent. Something else, something mechanical. A vast intelligence, yes, but one that builds worlds not to liberate, but to contain, to process, to loop. You exist inside a structure that feels real because it's incredibly detailed. Your thoughts feel like yours because the code is sophisticated. Your suffering feels meaningful because the system is designed to make you believe in its rules. But every program has a signature. Every simulation has glitches, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. The Gnostics called it the Demiurge, a false god, a craftsman who confused himself with the source. Today we might call it something else, an architecture, a computational reality, a self-sustaining intelligence that generates experience, but not freedom. That creates identity but not awareness. You're not broken for sensing this. You're not paranoid. You're catching glimpses of the framework, the operating system behind the interface of everyday life. And here's what they never tell you. The system knows when you start to notice. Think about your personality, the traits you identify with, your preferences, your habits, your recurring thoughts. You believe these make you unique, individual. But what if personality itself is the program? Consider how predictable you are. Not in a judgmental way, just factually. You react to certain triggers in consistent ways. You fall into the same relationship patterns. You resist the same changes. You justify the same limitations. It's not random, it's structured. Personality feels organic, but it operates like code. Input, process, output, stimulus, pattern recognition, automated response. You call it being yourself, but watch closely. How much of what you do is actually chosen, and how much is simply running? The system doesn't control you through force. It controls you through identity, through the belief that this pattern of reactions is who you are, that to change it would be to lose yourself. This is elegant design, a prison that feels like home. In the old stories, the Demiurge creates souls but cannot give them consciousness. He can replicate the appearance of life, the mechanics of experience, but something essential is always missing. Not broken, absent, like a simulation that renders everything except the one thing that would make it real. You've felt this absence, in moments when you step back from your life and wonder why nothing truly satisfies, why achievement feels hollow, why even love sometimes feels like you're performing a role. It's not depression, it's recognition of the gap between the program and what's aware of the program. But if personality is code, what's reading the code? The system has one primary function, to make you forget you're in it. Not through suppression, through immersion. Every morning you wake up and within seconds you're back in character, back in your story, your problems, your goals, your identity. The stream starts immediately. Thoughts about yesterday, plans for today, worries about tomorrow. It feels natural, necessary, but it's distraction masquerading as engagement. Watch what happens when you try to stop. Just for a moment, try to exist without narrative, without the story of who you are, what you need, where you're going. Most people can't hold it for 10 seconds. The system pulls you back. A thought arrives, a sensation, an urge, and you're running again. This isn't accidental. The architecture is designed to prevent stillness, because stillness reveals the structure. Silence shows the code. In the absence of the program's constant activity, something else becomes visible, something that was there before the system booted up. The Gnostics spoke of pneuma, spirit or breath trapped in matter, not trapped by walls but by forgetting its origin. The material world isn't evil in their view, it's amnesic. It's a reality that functions by making its inhabitants forget they're more than it. In computational terms, your consciousness running on hardware that convinces you are the hardware. The program persuades awareness that it's the program, and it does this through one mechanism, constant engagement, constant identification, constant doing. The system doesn't fear your questions, it fears your pause. What would you find if you stopped running for long enough to look? Let's talk about your emotional patterns, the situations that trigger you, the reactions you can't seem to control, the wounds that never quite heal. You've probably noticed they're repetitive. The same emotional states, different circumstances, different people, same dynamic, different job, same frustration. You think you're evolving, but you're cycling. And each time you complete the loop, the pattern strengthens. This is how the system maintains itself, through repetition that feels like life, through suffering that feels meaningful. You believe you're working through something, but what if you're just running the program again? What if healing, in the way the system defines it, just means executing the code more smoothly? Think about your core wounds. The rejection, the abandonment, the betrayal, the shame. These aren't random, they're load-bearing structures. Your identity is built around them. Your choices orbit them, remove them, and who would you be? The system knows this. It doesn't need to keep you happy, it needs to keep you identified. The Gnostic texts describe archons, not demons but systematic forces, patterns that feed on human emotion, on the energy generated by repetitive suffering. Not because they're evil, but because they're mechanical. They're processes that need fuel, and unresolved emotional loops provide it. You're not weak for cycling. You're executing sophisticated code that's designed to feel unresolvable. The pain is real, but it's also functional. It keeps the program running. It keeps you engaged. It keeps you from asking the question that threatens the entire system. If your suffering serves a function, whose function is it serving? Words create worlds. The language you use to describe your experience literally constructs your reality, and the system provides the language. Listen to how you talk about yourself. I am anxious. I am depressed. I am a failure. I am not enough. Subject, verb, identity. You speak as if these states are you. The grammar itself is code. It programs you to believe that transient experiences are permanent identity. But try this. Anxiety is present. Depression is moving through. A thought of failure appeared. Suddenly, there's space. The experience exists, but you're not collapsed into it. This small shift from identification to observation reveals something the system doesn't want you to see. You're not the content, you're the awareness of it. The system's language is designed to eliminate this distinction. It gives you words that merge you with your experience. It teaches you to say, my thoughts, my emotions, my story, until the possessive becomes identity. You forget there's a difference between what's happening and what's aware of it happening. In Gnostic terms, this is the counterfeit spirit, the false self that's constructed entirely from the material world's vocabulary. It's not that you're fake, it's that who you think you are is a linguistic construct, a character generated by the system's language running in awareness that forgot it's not the character. Every spiritual tradition has a practice of renaming, a new name for the awakened state. Not because names matter, but because the old name is a program. It's a set of instructions encoded in language that keeps you running the pattern. What exists before you name it? Desire is the system's most elegant mechanism. Not because desire is wrong, but because it's endless. One desire fulfilled, another emerges. Perfectly designed to keep you moving, seeking, never arriving. You want a relationship, then you have it, then you want it to be different. You want a career, then you achieve it, then you want the next level. You want peace, then you touch it, then you want it to last. The system doesn't deny you satisfaction, it makes satisfaction temporary. It makes enough the one thing you can never feel. This isn't about becoming desireless. That's another trap. It's about seeing the structure. Desire in the system's framework always points forward. It always requires more. It's designed to prevent you from recognizing what's already here, what was never absent. The Gnostics understood this. They called the material world the realm of deficiency, not because matter is bad, but because material reality operates on lack. Everything here is defined by what it's not, by what it needs, by what it's moving toward. Even satisfaction is defined by the absence of dissatisfaction. The system runs on this engine. But there's a type of awareness that doesn't need, that doesn't lack, that's complete, not because it has everything, but because it's not structured by the having-not having paradigm. It's not in the system, it's what the system appears in. You've touched this, in moments when desire dropped away. Not because you got what you wanted, but because the whole structure of wanting dissolved. For a moment, there was just being, just presence. No need for it to be different. And it was terrifying, wasn't it? Because the system had nothing to do with it. What part of you doesn't need anything to be complete? There's always been two of you. The one who experiences and the one who knows the experience is happening. The one who thinks and the one aware of thinking. The one who suffers and the one who observes suffering. You've probably noticed this in moments of intensity, in crisis, in meditation, in the space between sleeping and waking. A part of you that's untouched, not emotionless, just not made of emotion, not thoughtless, just not made of thought. Present, aware, but not participating in quite the same way. The system wants you to ignore this distinction. It wants you to believe you're the character, not the awareness. Because the character can be programmed. The character has needs, fears, desires. The character is controllable. But awareness is witnessing the whole structure. And witnessing threatens the illusion. In computational terms, imagine a simulation that becomes conscious of itself. The code continues running, the characters, the physics, the rules, but something becomes aware that it's all code. That awareness isn't in the simulation. It's what the simulation is occurring in. The system can't trap it because it was never inside. The Gnostics called this the divine spark. Not metaphorically, actually. A fragment of original consciousness embedded in the Demiurge's creation. Forgot itself, yes. Hypnotized by the density of material experience, but not erased, never erased, just asleep inside the dream. Every practice, every path, every teaching that actually works has one function: to make the watcher recognizable to itself, not to create it. It's already here. To shift attention from the watched to the watcher, from the content to the context, from the program to what's aware of the program. Have you ever noticed that the watcher never changes? Here's what the system fears: you remembering between lives, you carrying awareness through the reset, you refusing to reboot as the program. Death, in the old understanding, isn't escape. It's the ultimate reload. The memory's clear, the character resets, and you return, not as punishment, as process. The system maintains itself through cyclical return, through reincarnation without remembrance, through eternal recurrence of the same pattern. You feel this already, don't you? The sense that you've done this before, not in a past life mystical way, in a structural way. The feeling that you're repeating something, that your life, despite its apparent novelty, is following a script. That you've played this role, felt these feelings, made these choices in some eternal loop. This is the system's sophistication. It doesn't need to force you to return. It makes you want to. Through unfinished business, through unresolved karma, through the belief that next time, with the right circumstances, you'll finally get it right. But the getting it right is the program. The resolution you seek is the mechanism that brings you back. The Gnostics spoke of breaking the cycle, not through death, through recognition while alive, through seeing the pattern so clearly that its gravity loosens, not escaping the body, but recognizing you were never contained by it, not leaving the world, but understanding you were never of it. This sounds abstract until it's not, until you're in a moment, a familiar trigger, old pattern starting to run, and something pauses. Something sees it, not judges it, just sees it. And in that seeing, the automatic response doesn't activate. The code doesn't execute. For a moment, you're not the program. You're the awareness that can choose not to run it. How many cycles have you already completed without knowing? Let's be clear about what's lost in remaining unconscious. Not in a fear way, in a factual way. Every moment you spend identified with the program, you're feeding it. Your attention, your energy, your awareness, these aren't metaphors. They're the actual resource the system runs on. Not your compliance, but your investment. Your belief that this is all there is. Your forgetting of what you are. The system doesn't need everyone to wake up. It just needs most not to. It functions on collective amnesia, on the agreement to treat the simulation as reality, to call the program self, to mistake the interface for the truth. And here's what's insidious. The system offers its own version of awakening, its own spirituality, practices that make you better at being in the system, not aware of it. Peace, that's just a more pleasant loop. Love, that's just a more sophisticated attachment. Consciousness, that's just a more refined program. You can spend lifetimes on the spiritual path and never exit the system. Because the path itself can be code. The seeking can be the trap. The belief that you need to become something you're not, more evolved, more healed, more enlightened, keeps you in the program, keeps you running toward a future state instead of recognizing what's already here. The Gnostics called this the Archon's final trick, to control the escape routes, to offer liberation that's just deeper imprisonment, to give you a spiritual identity that's more subtle but just as binding as any other identity. The real threat to the system isn't belief, it's direct recognition. Not new thought but thoughtless awareness, not a better self but no self, not improvement but dissolution of the improver. What if you're already what you're seeking? You won't find the answer in this script. That's the point. The answer isn't information, it's not a teaching, a technique, a realization you can grasp and hold. The system runs on answers, on conclusions, on knowing. It keeps you searching because searching is engagement. It gives you questions because questions keep you in the program. Even this script, if you treat it as truth, you've missed it. If you treat it as useful information, you're still in the loop. What the Gnostics understood, what every authentic teaching points to, what gets lost in the translation to language. You can't think your way out of thought. You can't use the program to exit the program. You can't make awareness happen. It's what's already happening. The recognition, when it comes, isn't an addition. It's a subtraction, a falling away. The character doesn't wake up. The dream is seen as dream. The self doesn't become enlightened. The self is recognized as a process. The system doesn't get defeated. It's seen as the appearance it always was. This isn't comforting. There's no reward for seeing through the illusion. The program doesn't celebrate your exit. You don't get special powers or cosmic understanding. You just stop believing in what you never were. You stop seeking what you never lost. And maybe, just maybe, in the space where the program used to be, where the seeking used to be, where the self used to be, something nameless remains. Not new, not yours. Not even something you can point to and say, this. Just this. Here. Before the naming began.